Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Casting Cauldron, the Modern Mystic. I am Sabrina, and I am a mystic. No one has asked, but if you're wondering, yes, I am still a witch and a mystic. So you could say I'm a mystic witch. I am on a Hindu path. And I had said that I'm going to be talking more and more about what I remember as I am continuing to walk and practice the tradition of Hinduism, the philosophy of Sanatana Dharma. And today was Nag Panchami, or Panchami. I think it's Panchami. It was a celebration of the Nagas, in particular Vasuki, the king cobra that is said to come to someone who has developed a meditation practice and gained a lot of, I would say, self-mastery, to the point where you're able to go beyond the senses into the sixth sense, right? The spiritual dimension, and receive the energy and the connection to snake energy. And so today, I went to temple this morning. Today is Sunday, August the 16th. Trying to stay hydrated. I hope you are too. We've still been having a lot of humid, hot weather here. At first it seemed to be a very uneventful event. There was only 2 young men there, and then I walked in. I said, "Are we going to be sitting for this event?" I brought a big pillow. What kind of pillow? I said, "A floor pillow." He asked, "Is it brand new?" I said, "No." He said, "Well, they need to be either brand new here all the time, used just for temple, or..." I said, "Okay, I'll leave it in the truck." So I did buy this new top. It's quite large, but it gives me room. It's not too tight so that I'm not uncomfortable. I like all of this going on here. $3.99 from Goodwill. I have to pinch it in the back so I don't look like I'm wearing a potato sack. I haven't had the discipline to really go and sweat more. I sweat when I'm in the truck. So that's my sweating session. And then there's other things that I can drink and juice also to help move toxins out of the body. I sat on the floor next to the 2 young men. And today, instead of pulling out the big plastic rolling restaurant cart, Darshan, which is the name of the priest, decided to do what he's done in the past, and that is just use the bucket where we drain all of the liquid, and then take the rain tray. It's a round tray with holes that we use to rain water down onto the deity or the Shiva Lingam. And in this case today was a little representation of Vasuki. Now there's a bigger Vasuki on the Shiva Lingam that we normally have, and then there's the gigantic Shiva Lingam behind against the wall with a gigantic Vasuki. And I asked him one day, I think last year, are we ever going to give the milk and abhishek to the gigantic Shivalingam and the gigantic Vasuki? He said, no, because we don't have the proper drainage. So I guess seeing that there was only 3 people there, he just had the bucket and the tray. And I kept thinking, where's the little Vasuki that's on the Shivalingam? Right? It's about as big as my hand, and then it's got the head. I couldn't see it at all. So he starts performing the Abhishek to offer water, purify, and he calls people up. And I'm seeing the person in front of me is pouring milk on a tiny little Vasuki, like a murti. No bigger than my thumb. It doesn't have to be any bigger than that, guys. If you find a tiny little representation of a snake or a cobra, that's about all it has to be. My linga is from the Ganga River, and it's very small. And Darshan said, well, that's all you need. That's working for you. It's big enough. So in this case, size doesn't matter. Your mind is always the number one instrument, okay? It's your connection, your communion, your alignment, your devotion. So this person was pouring milk on the little murti of Vasuki. And then there was a rock on the left side. And then there was like a fossilized snail shell on the right. And another rock behind the murti with a flower. I was perplexed. But I did the same thing everybody else was doing. We poured water, then we poured milk, and then he finished by pouring milk and yogurt. More people did come. They were, trailing in, scraggling in one by one, 2 by 2. And we ended up having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 3 more couples came with 2 children. So we had about 9 people there. Maybe 10. So then after that, he dumped out the water, cleaned everything up. And I got a question from one of the 2 men that was there when I walked in, which of course is like, wow, she's really white. I can just tell, when I'm walking in. And I'm a regular. I go there at least once a week for the past 2 years, since May of 2024. But I don't see them very often. Some people have to travel very far, and they don't come very often. So he turned his head and he asked me, what got you into this? It's fine. I get that question a lot. And I decided, here when I'm at home, I wonder, how should I answer the question? Should I just answer it the same every time? And I said, basically, yeah. I'm first of all just going to say, and I said to him very quickly, I had a dream. I said, oh. Now, people that are into metaphysics and spirituality can understand that you can get answers in dreams. You can get them during the day as a feeling, an impression, a vision, a word, a memory of a TV show, a book title, all different kinds of ways. But when it comes to a dream, which is really an astral travel for me, it's a very, very profound, detailed, in full color dream I never forget. It's very important. So we did the arte after that, which is we go up and of course we fan the incense to smudge. In this case it was Ganesha, because he'd put everything else away. And when that was all over, we were given prasad. In this case, I got a handful of almonds. And I went and I sat down. I started eating. And these two young men, one came over to me and the other one followed behind and said, I want to ask you some more questions. I said, okay. And so I had been thinking about that while I was at home as well. And I said, spirits come to me and speak to me in dreams throughout the years, off and on. Okay. And I actually stepped on a goddess-based path many years ago. Oh, really? What? I said, well, it was called Wicca. You know, it honors both the god and the goddess. I said, how do you spell it? W-I-K-A? I said, no, W-I-C-C-A. So he looked it up. He had the look on his face and in his eyes of someone who's a seeker. So, you know, I just sat there and kind of answered his questions. You know, do you read tarot? Yes, I do. I've been doing that for a long time. I want to learn how to read tarot. I said, okay. And do you read for others? I said, not really. I've done it a couple of times once in a while. Doesn't seem to be something that I'm led to do. I was led to read for myself. It's a very good thing to read for yourself. I said, oh, because I kind of want to learn. Then he showed me a woman that he's been having readings from, who is from India. And I can't remember exactly what he said about maybe spiritual connection or something. And I said, you know, that is really what has helped me connect to my guides, is using the artwork of the tarot that I was led to many years ago when I was ready. And this was a way that my guides could actually prompt my mind and then give me a message, an impression, a word, or a dream. I said, maybe that's why you're being led to it. And then he just kind of looked away, you know, for a second, like, oh. I said, it's really, unless you have a special kind of a ability to tune in or hone in on one person, I generally have to read day after day after day until I get to the right phase of the moon and I've gotten enough impressions through the cards to pick up on one person. And then I might be picking up on their husband or their neighbor so that I can assess really what's going on around them in my sleep time. And so that does interfere with my sleep. And I know I've offered to read if somebody wanted me to do a simple reading, okay? Like a yes or no question, right? Where I would pull 3 cards. But as far as the really lengthy card readings that take up a lot of my dream time, I said, so many people are needing to really learn how to do this for themselves, right? Call on spirit, connect to spirit. And he was like, oh, okay. So then he asked me about astrology. Do you do astrology? I said, yes, Vedic astrology is what I'm doing now. And he said, oh, I really want to connect to you. So we exchanged numbers in the group. I'm part of the Hindu temple group on WhatsApp. So we connected there. And we'll see, you know, if he decides that he wants me to do a chart. So before I talk to you about looking at a chart again today, let me back up. And everybody left, and I sat in front of Vishnu, who is my guru, and did my chanting because I'm feeling a stronger connection. Very, very strong. especially after what happened on the dark moon in the temple. So I sat there and I chanted, and Darshan sat in his chair and was on his phone, and I finished and I got up. And I said, "Can you explain to me what the rocks were?" He said, "Oh, sure. I think they're called Shambhala stones." Anyway, he said they're from the river. It's not the Ganga River. It's something similar to that. And he said they come from the earth, which is said to be related to Vishnu, and the water. And so it's incorporated into this as an element of nature, along with Vasuki. You have to connect to nature. I'm hearing this, of course, more and more and more, which is a very big part of Wicca. It's nature-based spiritual practice. I've been saying that for the 8 years that I've been on my channel here. So he said each one has been found in the river, on the shallow banks, and pulled out, and there's 3 surrounding Vasuki. Of course, they do swim in the water. They like to be around the water, I guess, generally, or cool spaces, dark spaces, and the ground, Mother Earth. And he said it represents Vishnu. And I said, to me, that's very interesting. And he said a few more things. I said, well, what I'm hearing is that more and more of the things that we're doing here really do include Vishnu, whether it's a symbol or a murti of Vishnu or not. There's a symbol of Vishnu. Vishnu is in everything. He said, yes. Now, you might not see that when we're chanting to a statue of Durga or Shiva, but Shiva and Vishnu are best friends. This is a pantheon, guys. It's a family. And this is my soul family. So I asked him, what about the 2 snakes on either side of Vasuki? You see how I've got my setup here? And my little Shiva Lingam is in the middle. There. That's a card with Shakti from my goddess oracle. And he said, I said, can I ask you another question? What about the 2 snakes on either side of Vasuki, like that was in my dream? Is Manasa and Nitya? Where are they? Why are they not here? He said, well, they're there. We just don't have a representation of them. Okay, they're always there. I said, well, do we ever have a puja for Manasa or Nitya? And I don't remember what he said. Maybe certain places in India do, and certain traditions. I'm not exactly sure what tradition we are practicing here at this temple, but the priest is from Bengaluru in southern India, where it's primarily Vishnu temples everywhere. He is a temple priest of Vishnu, and he has the Vishnu symbol on his forehead. So this works out very well for me. So coming home, I decided, okay, this young man might ask me to actually do his Vedic chart. And I have learned a few things. I've been studying astrology off and on, starting with Western many years ago. I read a very good book by Anne Faraday, I believe it was, on astrology. And a couple of other astrology books. My mother had my astrology done in a little booklet when I was a young girl, and I've carried it with me for many years. So I decided to pull up my astrological chart and take a look at it one more time and see what all do I need. So I went over this with ChatGPT. With this software, I'm going to need the full name, the birth date, the time, as close to the time of birth as possible, the city, the country, and if it's a tiny city, I might need to enter a district or a province or something like that. Otherwise, it will just generate the coordinates in the software program. And I've done half a dozen charts already for friends and family. One friend actually paid me the first time. I gave her an extensive report that included numerology. And what I found was the numerology was validating the natal chart, and the natal chart was validating the numerology. I love that. So then I began asking some questions to AI Meta. I don't remember what. Probably for 45 minutes I was communicating, and as it was asking me more questions, I said, sure, let's talk about that, let's do that. There's something called the Navamsa chart, where you can look for your Ishta. So I asked her what's an Ishta, because I've been hearing about that. You know, what's the difference between an Ishta and a Deva and a Guru? Your chart ruler, I believe, is called your Guru, or it's just your chart ruler. And so what was explained to me was that this actually shows you where your soul purpose is going to be expressed in your life. So your rising sign is your Antakara, Karaka, something like that. And then she told me what to look for as far as degrees of planets, and then how to pull up the Navamsa chart so that I could look at those aspects, see where they were in the Navamsa chart, and then look at the 12th house after that for my Ishta. And she said, well, what do you know? For you, it should be connecting to Ganesha. I said, that's what I do. That's how it started. Ganesha came to me in a dream. That's how it started years ago. So that validates the dream, validates my numerology, validates my life path number, which shows you the deities that are responsible for creating your soul. So the Ishta, what I'm finding is that it can show where you really want to work to remove karma, I guess. It's a challenge, all right? Your challenge is going to show there. And in my case, it was dealing with the mind and the emotions and memory. And with Ganesha's help, I was able to overcome that. I was able to grow in a big, big way by connecting to Ganesha. In my Western astrology, it said, you should make the mind your god. Of course, that freaked me out many years ago. But what that means is mind, moon, and then Ganesha is considered a god. It's not bad, guys. It's not wicked. It's not any of those things. It's just all in how it's expressed. And it can take time to get to the point where you have peeled yourself like an onion, where you're starting to really sense and feel where it is that you should be practicing a spiritual practice. Once again, the shortcut is your life path number. You see what I'm saying? All of these things are the pieces to the puzzle that validates doing your life path number, calculating your life path number, because everything is numbers. It can be expressed as music. It can be expressed as art. That is going to show you your soul frequency. And there are several deities that relate to that. There are some female ones, and then there are some male ones. And then it's your choice to start experimenting with each one and see what happens in your life and in your dreams or whatever, right? And I work with at least 2 that resonate with my life path number. Now, there are clues in the Hindu tradition. We celebrate Ganesha's birthday on the 5th month in the calendar year of Hinduism in India. I've already asked the priest about this. And in India, it's considered the 5th month of the new year is around August, mid-August, late August to September. So here we're going to celebrate it this year in September. I think last year or the year before it was in August. But there is a particular time during the month of the 5th year, guys. There's more than one aspect here that is a clue to the life path number that resonates to Ganesha. So that was interesting. Not everybody believes it's important to find your Ishta. As I look at the Ishta of several charts I've already made up of other people, I can see where they have their challenges. They may or may not be met. It's just another way to look at what's going on in your particular roadmap of your life in your natal chart, what your challenges are. Now I have 2 different places that I can look at and see what you have, say, in the first half of your life, and then what is going to change, and if you're going to meet that challenge, how you're going to meet that challenge, I think, in the second half of your life. That's my personal feeling. I know that my mother, now that I'm looking at her chart, excuse me, she never met it. She never met the challenge. She couldn't. She had her own limitations that she had to have in this life. And that's just the way it is with some people. I was watching a video about prosperity mindset, and I was going to do that today, but I wanted to share with you my experience with Nag Panchami. Now somebody else that I know has also got a challenge that I can see, where I don't know yet if she's going to be able to actually meet it. She's still got quite a lot of years left ahead of her in her life. She can actually heal and grow, and I hope she does. But she's also connected to Ganesha, and there is an aspect of the moon there, very close to where her Ishta would be. So Ganesha is going to be very good for her to connect to. But I've also discovered that connecting to the planet that rules your entire natal chart is a very good thing to connect to. So, for example, my friend, her chart is ruled by Mars. But rather than giving her more masculine energy to connect to, because she already has a fair amount of that as far as being strong-willed, you know, headstrong, and very sensible, very, very go-getter, okay? Very go-getter, is to soften that by honoring her intuition, which is very strong, and bringing in a female related to Mars, Durga. So maybe that conversation will come up while we're on our camping trip this weekend. I found out that they are charging tickets for some events, which surprised me. Apparently, they let me in last year for the Lakshmi event, never said a word. I didn't know there was a ticket to pay. I probably could have paid it. I was a little thrown off, I'm going to be honest with you. I've never had to pay to go to church before. So there's a lot that I want to do and am willing to do. Every time I go, I either take milk or yogurt or honey or ghee or flowers or basil. I always try to take something. This is considered sponsoring. If we go onto the group and it says, do you want to sponsor? Fill out your name. Are you going to bring milk? Are you going to bring yogurt? And I thought, well, I already do those things. I don't want to fill this out and then have them say, oh, thanks, Sabrina, for the milk and the yogurt. And no, 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 no. That is just going to tempt me to fill up my ego, my head with myself. So ChatGPT said, tell them to make it anonymous. You can fill it out and say that you are sponsoring, you are contributing, you are bringing things, but you don't want them to announce it. Keep it a secret. I said, okay, thank you. That sounds really good. So apparently, there's a couple of other events that I've seen that they did say, sign up and get your ticket. But I wasn't really that interested in going, so I didn't. So sometimes people get lazy and they don't remember, they don't think you should make a donation. Some people put cash on the tray that comes around with the candle on it. Some people are now taking a credit card. They just got this machine where you can take your debit card and swipe to make a donation. So, and I do, when I have the cash, I lay it right at the feet of Vishnu. But I'm kind of in a recovery mode right now when it comes to my finances. So that's that. If you appreciate my work, you can donate at my Cash App. I'll leave that here. I also have my Ko-fi, Ko-fi, where you can make a donation there. You can see other things I'm doing there, as well as my shop with my handmade oils. I just made another post on my TikTok, guys. If you're on TikTok, I am on TikTok. I've updated the name, Casting Cauldron, the Modern Mystic, and I am going to be cross-promoting more of my videos, my shorts, my clips, and photos, and, you know, just sending them over there rather than having to double up my efforts and my time so that people can connect with me over on TikTok. So I'm being more strategic about the work I'm doing right now, and I need to be more strategic about presenting what it is that I do here. So I am going to offer Vedic astrology charts on my creator platform, Ko-fi. And then, of course, I have all of the oils that I have made. I've got master bottles, and I will fill them as the orders come in. So take a look at what I do have in my collection of oils. And if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe so that you'll be notified when I make my next video. Be sure to hit the bell and the all so that you can get notifications. If you're not getting notifications, then this is one reason why I am structuring Mystic Mondays, so that you know I'm going to have a video out every Monday. I hope you have enjoyed this. I hope it has been informative. Oh, by the way, Darshan said to me, if you will just honor and commune with a little murti of the Naga, because they're very powerful. And I asked him, what about the two sisters? He said, they're with you. Everything you connected to in the dream, snake energy is with you now. It's inside of you, and it is helping you with beyond your five senses, heightening your perception, your intuition, and even guiding you to help protect you at times. So he said you can connect to that every day for, I think he said 45 days. I don't think it was 49 days. I think it was 45 days. And he said you'll be amazed at what things will open up for you in your life. So namaste, blessed be, and I will see you soon.